Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 7 of the LJL, officially unofficial podcast. I am one of your three constant co-hosts of all of this. I mean, almost the MaskedSwan show at some point.
I know, it has been, genuinely. Hold down the fort, Lexi. Keep it going.
Oh, we will go. Fan broadcasts are here to stay, ladies and gentlemen. LJLOU, MaskedSwan here to bring you through everything. The man, always in the middle, sir, on these podcasts. Hello, how are you, Initialise?
I'm really good. I'm clearly a really big Jimmy Eat World fan because the middle
I
is
know.
where I am always. It's literally, if you don't know that song, you're probably too young. But just go listen to that song. It's great. The middle is wonderful. You'll enjoy the vibes. It's a good music video. The whole thing's there. That's the tangent I took us on, and I'm sorry, Lexi.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I just got a wash over of Guitar
Everything
Hero and like
will
rock
be
band
all
vibes.
right. I will leave it at that.
Came to me, but the other member guest on the podcast, returning
Indeed.
guest for Season 3 as well. Damn.
I know.
LnlyHikikomori, Hina, you're back again. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. I can't say I'm fully. I'm full of energy after these weeks because first of all, it has been a long week. We have done a super week, which means games are almost on every other day. Sometimes, like on the other day as well, like maybe the Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, back to back.
There are a lot of LJL games, which is good, definitely good, but also it's kind of tiring sometimes in like a good way. It's like I'm tired, but I'm feeling good.
We're definitely doing our best LPL impression, it feels like, at the moment.
Oh,
yes,
gosh.
Definitely.
Yeah. I had a chat with Asheen when he was over in Berlin. We went for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
It was very lovely.
Nice.
And he was just sort of saying, like, here is the schedule. He basically spent a solid 30 minutes talking about, like, how insane the LPL schedule is. Like, it is obscene. It's like 3 best of 3s a day. Every day you're in meetings and you go, because of course you don't have anybody do stats and stuff for you. You have to do them all yourselves and get them all in place and get them all in. So you have so much control. It's absolutely your baby, and that's amazing. But my God, there is so much work to do. And Lexi, they're rocking the boat. I see. He's focused though. Look at that, in his lane, moisturized.
Yes, actually, yes, I am. Thank you, sir, for noticing. I mean, yeah, no, LPL is a whole nother beast. But we're definitely getting a taster for it. I definitely got a taste with Middlecott as well when we did LJL Academy. And that was just like back to back.
The LJL grind set, it's in.
It's in. It's definitely in. Remember, right, you know our phone number. Appreciate a bit of money if you want to negotiate that out. We've got a fantastic crew of people here. Because how many podcast episodes are we on? We're actually hitting up to 80 Initialise. We are well on track.
Damn.
100.
We're nearly at the cosplay episode.
We are, which is
that's horrifying. I might actually be the end of the year at this rate.
Yeah, it might actually be just as we go to Worlds, which would be a perfect way to really go into Worlds, I feel.
I mean, I'm just saying, myself and Alex have been kind of building a semi-arcane universe where he's Nymictor and I'm Initialise. So, it's happening. We just got to we got to find you a role, Lexi, and you're in. Come on, you in on this? You gotta. I'm looking at two very disturbed, very uncomfortable faces.
I'm dwelling. I'm thinking. I'm like I've got the Hatgood cinematic universe here in my head. I'm really trying to figure it out.
Dear LJL chat and viewers, you have the pressure, the power to pressure people into doing things they may not otherwise for content. Underline the content part and be kind about this, but you could potentially make MaskedSwan dress up as your favorite arcane character. I'm just saying, from the hit game League of Legends that won 9 Annie Awards.
Because there's no Aphelios.
That's true. You could just do like I mean, in fairness, I suspect you're just going to dress up as Diana, and you just dress up as Diana and Snash it. You know it's true.
Yeah, I would.
Ezreal could be nice. I mean, he's going to be next season, I guess.
I have to imagine. But I mean, Diana would fall in line with most of my waifus, with women with long swords. Claire from Claymore. I mean, Leona has a pretty long sword. That Zenith blade goes far. But I've gone blurry, and I think that's the camera telling me it's time to chill and tell everybody what they need to do. Initialise. I'm asking them if they're on YouTube. What would I like?
You have to do a few things for us. course. So you have to hit the like button, you have to hit the subscribe button, you have to hit the bell to get the notifications.
That'd be fantastic.
But then on top of that, you need to actually watch the video. Come on, guys. You need
Is
to
that
add
right?
some comments. You just share it with all your friends.
Yes.
And then, like, I don't know, DM us like some money or something. That'd be really nice about that.
Yeah, our coffee link is somewhere there.
It's on there.
So,
Come on.
it's
That's like the bare minimum, guys. Come on.
If you are on any other platform, we have a special announcement. If you are an audio listener normally on Spotify, you can now see our lovely faces on
So
Spotify
cool.
as we do put our video out on there. It's also on all of your audio platforms, wherever you would get your podcast needs. And obviously, if you rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, we would be greatly appreciated of that. Anyway, with that all done, I think it's about time that we get into this episode of the podcast. And there, we're going to start us out. We're going to start out because I think it's super important to have a look over at the standings that we're working with. Because, Hina, as you've already mentioned, a lot has happened between these days. It's been 5 days of the LJL, and some teams are starting to see trajectories here. I mean, Rascal Jester, that perfect split, perfect round robin, 8-win streak. So, I mean, fantastic showing from them, right?
Yeah, and also it's kind of like, it's kind of funny because just looking at the standings, really nothing has changed. It's like the standing we had for like a few weeks, but just like, I think like people, at least me, like the top 2 is super clear at the moment. I think it's like it was even before, like we kind of see, or maybe Rascal just is the second best team. I think after the second round, it just super obvious. Rascal Jester is like just a cut above the others.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think also now they've gone on this ridiculous 8-win streak to pull themselves back up the table, because it wasn't so long ago when they were kind of at the bottom of this pack, actually. You know, last time I was on them. So 2 weeks ago, I'd say they were probably at the bottom of that pack, and they really turned it on. And I always knew they had it in them, but we did have some issues with how they were playing their early games, Sol and Secret kind of getting shut out of games, and then the team looking a little bit lost. That's certainly not been the case. They were the team that took a game off Detonation Focus Me, putting themselves back in the competition as their rival for another year again, which is super exciting. And I think they're clearly the 2 best teams. I still think it's a little bit more competitive between Sengoku, Burning Core, CGA. I think all 3 have shown more flaws. I think Sengoku probably still are a little bit cleaner. I think that's fair. You're right, Hina. But Burning Core and CGA, still dangerous teams, still very clearly playoff caliber teams. I still think they could do some damage in a best of 5. But where they started the season a little bit stronger, and for CGA, where they kind of came online a couple of weeks ago and started up that ramp, you know, we're also seeing they have got a couple flaws in them which have been exploited. And it's also been like, for example, for CGA, a relatively tough schedule outside of a shock loss to Axis. You know, they had DFM, they had Burning Core. There's no shame in losing to those teams, but they are also in some ways your direct rivals, right? So that's probably hurt their standings a bit as well. And I think you're right to say DFM, Rascal Jesters just look better than the rest right now.
I mean, the fact that Sengoku before this round lost to Crest Gaming Act, then beat the bottom 3 teams, and then they lose to Detonation Focus Me in decisive fashion. I do feel like it is clear, cut and dry at this moment in time that Sengoku is best of the worst, best of the rest. I feel like is kind of the way to take away that point. Because I do feel like they're better than Burning Core and Crest Gaming. Yeah, they had their loss last week to them, but I mean, they still show a lot of good fundamentals. And Crest Gaming Act are a coin flip team to a degree. Like, they can just find those wins in random spots, I still feel. But maybe not anymore, because their performance over the last 3 games, especially, definitely make me feel differently. But we'll talk about them in a moment.
Yeah, sure.
Because I still want to keep it on Rascal Jester and Detonation Focus Me, because DFM returned to form, really. Like, this was not an easy 4 games for them this week.
No, not at all.
And they looked very clean and decisive in their actions. Not always in the best of fashions. Like, they still definitely have some hiccups and they've got some things to learn to do, but they look decisive when they get like a vague lead going. And they're playing through everybody.
And also important, I think, is DFM is not just like opting out for one strategy. They're playing a lot of different champions, a lot of different styles, and they very publicly said that they don't care if they. I mean, obviously, like, but like they're not gonna like be super hang up if they lose. Utah Monster is the best. If they lose, they lose. That's it. Just focus on the next game, because they just wanna get the best form, playing a lot of like Abby, for example. I don't have the stats in front of me immediately, but he's playing a lot more champions this year
Oh,
than last
for
year.
sure.
This
Like,
is maybe the most amount he's
Yeah,
played in a season. It feels like this early on in a season, at least.
probably.
I don't remember a season where Ebby's max number of games played on a single champion was only 3. Normally he's had like
Yeah,
1 or 2
this deep
mains,
in.
and he's had 1 or 2 mains and then some surprise picks. Whereas this guy, he's got 3 games of Trinity because that's banned against him every other time. He's got 3 games of Gwen, which he just didn't touch last year. Then he's got 2 on Camille, 2 on Akali, 2 on Gnar. Only 2 on Gnar. And then he's got 1 Jace, 1 Fiora, 1 Darius game. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's a lot.
pretty incredible.
I'm just flicking through the stats from last year. So last year alone, he didn't match it, and the year before 2020, he barely matches it in summer because he played like a 1 of Vladimir, 1 of Mordekaiser, 1 of Set, 1 of Hecarim, 1 of Camille back in 2020 summer. So we got to go that far back to find anything remotely, but that was a weirder meta, and that was a very different version of DFM where they were trying a lot out and it wasn't always sticking. This version of DFM is doing that same idea, but it's sticking.
It very much is, and I think it's also quite important to say it's a very different style of play. Like we've seen Ebby play, Gwen by themselves. Like the last game, Ebby didn't get involved in kills until they were pushing on the bloody Nexus. Like that was
they kind of didn't have to
because he didn't need to be involved. The rest of the map have got absolutely slaughtered. But like he was effectively left to his own devices on the Gwen and was like, well, I'm just going to hold Paz in lane. He's going to be forced to run Ghost to stay away from me. That's fine. And then actually what will happen is he'll have Steel and Yaharong roam and get Utapon and Harp, who've got Zeri and Set, like one of the really nasty run you down and dive you kind of pairings, and smash part Honey and Enti, of all people. You know, like that's a seriously hard thing to do. And I think that ability to have Ebby not be intentional. In fact, for once in his, I think this is like the first season I can recall where I have seen Ebby not have a single first blood engagement, like at all this season. Like he's just not been focused for first blood. Look back to 2020, look back to 2021, and Steel was routinely running, Renekton and Nidalee combos, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And, like even when that was a bit out of meta, the two of them were so comfortable on that pairing. Even when like we had our things like Steel playing Nidalee, lol, he's actually he's grounded that champion out for years. Like he's got the kind of fundamentals down. If there's not necessarily the play pattern we would expect from him, the point still stands that they're not playing that kind of combo. Actually, Steel's been focusing a lot around bot lane. He's been focusing a lot around Utapon. He's been things like the Poppy, where he's like they've not needed. It's not like they haven't ganked top, but it's not been the early priority. If you know what I mean, it's not been the level 3 tower crash that was often a big thing where you kind of get the double stack wave, having slow pushed it in, where Ebby's level 1 on the set and like cut you away from all your CS that kind of play pattern's not been there. I think that's really interesting because Hina's right to call out that the DFM have chosen a lot of different play patterns. They've looked good on pretty much all of them, honestly. We've seen Utapon, I think, on the best form I've seen him in years, actually. He's been popping off on things like the Jinx and the Zeri. Yaharong, I'm well impressed.
I want to throw a hypothetical out there because myself and Hina were chatting in the LJL Discord server. You should join us, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to find that link down below for it, we're having a conversation on the Discord server about Korea 9, as everyone dubs the team, and kind of the laning and everything. And I mean, what's interesting is the fact that it's believed that it's known a Japanese team was scrimmed against for Korea 9. And you have to imagine DFM was probably at the very top of that list. I think Hawks as well, because there is that connection, because they have got a partnership or a business thing. I can't quite remember how it all was again. But DFM had to be on top because they were the one that did history. They beat, and obviously top seed going into scrims. Korea 9, I wonder if maybe Berserker kind of 1v1ing for Ebby, just playing against Berserker in a bunch of scrims. Playing against top Korean talent is going to just make Ebby better, right?
You mean talking Utapon rather than Ebby in terms of the AD carry?
Yeah,
we're talking
Summit. Summit, I'm thinking
Summit,
for Ebby.
sorry.
Berserker
AD
Summit for Ebby.
Yeah.
I didn't mean Berserk for Utapon because you said Utapon is also playing out his goddamn mind. Actually
like,
better than Worlds, which is crazy.
Yeah, completely. So I really rate Summit. And I'll throw a little thing out here. So when Sandbox first promoted to the LCK back in 2020, obviously they and Damwon came up and they were kind of the superstars. And for me, I thought Summit was the better top laner than Keen and Nuguri that year. Just that on Fleek was kind of hit or miss, but was really good when he was on. It's just that actually Canyon and Showmaker were just too damn good. Nuguri was a bit coin flippy, and Keen was always really strong, but I really, really, really rated Summit. And it was kind of amazing to me to watch this guy now in a team where he's got a little bit more cohesiveness going on, like smashing a league. And you can kind of see what we've all kind of known Semi and along, which is this guy's, just a class act player. Yeah, he's cracked. Absolutely. When you run Ignite Gnar and 1v4 in inhibitor turrets by yourself, it's a bad time for your enemy team. But like, there's something to beginning to play that guy, right? Getting the practice against him.
I want Weibo Gaming and Cloud9 to play each other.
Oh my God, Summit! Could we have Summit, Ebby, and the Shy in the same group?
Oh my God, that would.
I mean, it would be a horror story for DFM. Don't get me wrong, but it would be so much fun.
I want ProView just for top. That's all
I
I
want. It would be glorious. Like, in fact, honestly, if you get throw Zeus, throw Zeus in there, throw I don't know, Wonder or Broken Blade or somebody in there as well. He's thinking this is going to be glorious. The amount of madness that could come out of that top lane.
Peanut, any dream matchups for top laners that you'd want to MSI for that kind of crazy group?
Also, I'm not even sure what's going to be the format for MSI, and
no idea.
Riot has not talked about this either. But
no, that's a fair point.
If it's going to be like last year, and there is like basically a tier 1 team, a tier 2 and 2 tier 3s, if you're assuming that one.
Yeah.
Who I think like, and also just like assuming Abby is gonna be at the MSI, which is, let's be real, probably.
If Ino goes, that is going to be crazy for that team.
Yeah, that would be interesting as well. But assuming Abby is gonna go, Abby against I think from the tier 1s, and if Vibo goes, the Shy versus Abby would be pretty funny. I think it's gonna be definitely a good one. And just another thing that I noticed at DFM is like compared to last year when they were like always playing to Arya. Nice, like I feel like every lane from DFM can just like stay on their own, play their own game. They can be self-sustained, which is I think they kind of lacked this last year, and this is the point where I see them like doing much better compared to like the super DFM iteration. Just like all the members can be self-sustained. Steel is just gonna roam around the map, get all the kills. He's having the split of his life for sure. And if you're seeing this, maybe against Steven it's gonna be interesting as well, because not in the same way, but like Honor has been pretty good as well. I think
Honor
it's more the jungle
cracked.
But I think the junglers that I would look for actually.
Here lies in my. I'm aware we're kind of going on a bit of a tangent, but it's a cool tangent. So I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. Herein potentially lies my issue, and I think it'll be something we'll bring back up closer to MSI, whoever ends up going, even if obviously DFM pretty hands-on favorites. Honestly, however the rest of the split goes, even if they drop a few games in a row, I think I'd still favor them because DFM in playoffs. I had this conversation at the end of 2021 summer when they were like, they're not going anywhere, and they grind their way all the way up to the finals and take V3 to 5 games. Like, the point still stands. I think that while I think the average level of the LJL has pretty clearly gone up this year, which has been a really pleasant surprise in terms of like...
There is one role I might contest.
No, there's some truth in that. No, I can agree with
that.
The
one role I mean.
I can see what you mean. But like, obviously, I think like, for example, AD
But
carries,
I think the overall, yes.
Yeah, like AD carries feeling pretty good. Support's a bit more hit and miss. But you know, like actually, we've got some really good mid laners in right now.
We do.
We've got some pretty cool, interesting top laners playing some fun stuff. Even Toll too, playing Draven top. It's not standard stuff. There's people being a bit creative.
Attempts.
Yeah, exactly. And like, so the average level has probably gone up, and there's definitely some more curveballs being thrown, and that's really good practice for international events. It is not practice for being on an international stage where we might well be traveling again, where we might have crowds, where you are going to be under the microscope against the absolute best in the world. Arya went over to the LCK and got dropped from a main roster because he couldn't hack it. Arya. Like, and I'm aware that obviously synergy wasn't quite there with his teammates, and obviously started well and fell off a bit. But you know, when one of the guys we held as like the champion of our region, the best player out there, was, ninth best mid laner in a league. Like, that is the kind of issue where you come into an international event and go, yeah, these guys can stand up and play, and I believe they can, but are they practiced against it? Have they prepped against it? Can you go into this and be tempered enough as a team?
Well, I think there's the
to
best
play the way you
opportunity.
do with lane advantages that you just won't get in international.
Well, I think this is the best opportunity DFM ever going to have. Like, this is not the super team experiment that it was last year, remember? And I'm hearkening back to a conversation and point I made a few weeks back where I said, yeah, but this is DFM and they get to practice day one with this team. They get to do scrims with this version of the team. It's not with Kazu. Thank you, Kazu. And it's not with having to do this weird swap Arias in. Then they finally get the super team only for summer and then Worlds. It was an amazing team. And I am so happy we got to see that. It made history, right? Like, that's the crazy thing. But this team could go higher. The ceiling feels just as high at this moment in time.
Wait, that's mad going back a couple of weeks, Like, I mean, like, I suppose, like, I think both me and Lexi have discussed ad nauseum where we thought the expectations for DFM were like, there was a little bit of hope, but like it was tempered by the fact that like, no way, Gang and Ari were just too good, right? Just replace them, it's going to be super hard. What were you expecting of DFM coming into this? And I think that this will probably end up at Rascal Jesters. But like, why are you here?
At some point.
I have a good LPL example for kind of like what I think like the two DFMs are. Just from the top of my head, the last year's DFM and just like super strong person, like super strong people on the roster, just like extremely mechanically skilled and just like overall skilled people. That's kind of like 2018 IG.
I get
Whenever they had the world's best top lane, they had obviously like
that Rookie and Shy on peak form, like and the best mid.
It's kind of like that IG roster when they were just like
I could have been playing AD carry and they could have won Worlds with the way those two were playing. Let's just say.
I mean, they won't be Ning. So
right? The memes about his Lee Sinclair will live on forever.
And I would say the current DFM is more like the next year, 2019 FPX, whenever they maybe don't necessarily have the best players. Like Gimgun, I don't think anyone said Gimgun is the best top laner. And I don't even think Doim was like the best mid laner himself. It's just like the team was playing so well together.
Yeah.
It's just like they were like glued together super well. Everything they tried, they had like a super like all kinds of different styles, and it just like worked so well for them. And I kind of have like
I see your angle.
Some this feeling.
I see your angle, but I think my issue is that I still think DFM probably still are in contention for the best player in every role. So it's a little bit less like that with FPX, where they just had like, we've got the best goddamn support jungle in the world.
I think if
you doing crazy stuff.
Think about
if you're DFM, you don't want to contest LJL anymore. If you're DFM, you want to be on the big level now.
I see. No, you know what? I see where you're going, angle. And I can see like actually relative to the international competition, I completely agree. You know what? I cede my argument. Good choice.
I love that perspective. I think that's such an interesting idea. I would obviously give a bit of like, because obviously the IG version comparison is within the LJL, and then obviously
we have to recontextualize, but
is for it. But I
aims
still love
changed, yeah.
Yes, I still love the analogy, and I think it's a fantastic way of thinking about this version of DFM. Obviously, tomorrow, as we record this podcast episode, Rascal Jesters DFM are facing off, and I'm going to come in with this one with predictions, because then we're going to look at it from the Rascal Jesters perspective. Initialise, where are you going with this match?
This is for DFM versus Rascal Jesters, I'm assuming.
Yes, tomorrow. Yeah, third round robin match.
Yeah, I'm going to go with DFM because I still think they're the better team. But if there was a team to throw another upset in there, it would be Rascal Jesters. They have the creativity and they've got some cool stuff.
Hina.
I'm gonna say I'm not sure about side selection. That's actually can be changing my opinion. True. But if DFM is in blue, I think Rascal Jester is gonna leave Poppy open, and they're gonna have ready for a counter. I think Rascal Jester wanna give away the Poppy and have some counter for this, because in case like once again, I don't have statistics, just like from my eyes, from what I'm seeing. I think all the teams are banning Poppy against the DFM. That
Yeah.
has been a constant ban against
It's
them.
Okay.
been left up a few times and still hasn't picked it.
Are they?
What else? Yeah,
Yeah,
like it's
it
pretty
happened over the last
heavily
few
banned,
days.
but it doesn't happen all the time. And what I'll also say is,
I mean, it is
this
his most played
isn't.
champion still. So
I don't think Hachimecha has played to the level he was in spring 2021, for example. Where he had things like
yeah,
the cane and stuff he was feeling able to pull out. I think Hachimecha stabilized from that loss streak, but I'm not. If I was DFM, Hachimecha isn't what I'm worried about. Put it that way. I don't think he's
And
playing badly, but I don't think he. Whereas I would say, Sol and Secret popped the fuck off with some assistance from great
Yeah,
drafting.
they
Like I think
did.
Rascal Jesters really answered what DFM. Like DFM drafted for their own comp and didn't do it with respect to the enemy comp, which happens, right? Like it does happen in it's a long season, and sometimes another team just catches you off guard with the draft you weren't expecting, and it really messes up what you wanted to do. You go for a dive comp and they have horrible anti-dive with Tom Kensley, and you go, fuck. Like, it happens. That could happen again, and I don't, honestly, with Rascal Jester's ability to do the Veigar, the Zillion, all the weirdness, that's an option. But for me, if I was DFM, I am more worried about Sol and Secret being enabled either via the team comp or just by being really good, and finding a way to stop that happening. For me, would be my aim. But you seem to have a bit of a different take, Hina. So I'm interested to see what your thoughts are, because you seem to think the Poppy could be much more key than I'm currently feeling.
yeah, honestly, my mind wanna say DFM because obviously my mind just wanna say DFM all the time, but my heart someday wanna say Roscoe Jessicas because that man in the middle lane. Recap has been having an
He's
insane few games. I think he has been
that's fair.
playing
He's been really good.
so like even he was even playing Orivel, which is not a common thing in LJL. But he has the Ori, he has the Veigar, obviously that he can pull at any time. But he has been playing super well, and I think DFM is still there's a reason why so many teams ban Poppy against them, and still also having the probably the peak of his career. Obviously the Poppy. I would love to see him on a Poppy once again because like I don't necessarily like whenever there is like a super good pick and it's just like getting always banned. I much rather like teams just finding some counters. And I would love to see still having Poppy, and I would love to see RJ just pull out some cheese, pull out some interesting strategies. Maybe like
I
with another mage, maybe a Serrat. I'm not sure how. Like I heard some people say Serrat may be coming back to meta. I'm not
So that
necessarily
was
sure about this.
okay. So Zerath was coming back as a semi counter to Corki, where
then
if you
Corki's been kicked.
so the idea
Corki
was
has never been a thing in LJL.
Well, it's because we started the split after Corki was nerfed.
Yeah,
We never
yeah.
played on a patch with strong Corki. Like he's still okay. He's just not first pick worthy anymore because like Corki's missile damage is exactly the same. That hasn't been nerfed. Like you get 3 items, Corki will still do what Corki does with rockets. That's not.
But you got to get there, mate.
Yeah, and the difference is your package is just not. It's just not online as often anymore. Like you need the pills a little bit.
No, the
more often.
timing's got changed.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
and rightly so. In all fairness, the dirty kind of sequences of play you could make.
Like it was so simple to basically go, okay, 30 seconds or like 20 seconds till dragon. I'm picking up package and teleporting it. Cool, we're ready to go. And like that's just not available anymore. You can't play that style. So I also feel with some other stuff getting nerfed, actually we're edging more towards things like Akali and Ari, actually a little bit more pick, a little bit more mobility, a little bit more follow up for what junglers are doing.
Yep.
So I'll be interested to see whether Recap goes towards that, right? Because he, in my mind, has been more of the Orianna player, the Veigar player, the holding player who has often had to weather
He's been pulling a lot of bans.
Yeah, he has, absolutely, because some of his like off-meta picks have been rightly feared by enemy teams. Like his Veigar is legitimately terrifying. I think that's pretty fair.
I just even with Recap playing well, I don't know if in my heart of hearts, as mentioning earlier, where we were making the comparisons between the versions of DFM, I actually think, to Sam's point, Yaharong is still the best mid laner.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think he's the best middle laner. While Recap's playing great, I still think Yaharong's going to beat him in a 1v1 isolated shot. I think there's still a chance that Recap could come out on top. Obviously, it's a game. But I think Yaharong comes out on top in isolated environments more than often enough. And then with Steel playing better and Hachimecha having a bit of a fall off at the moment, or struggling to find his place, it feels more than anything else.
What I'll say for Recap is I just had to look through some of his stats. Like
Yep.
the fact that obviously he's got the Veigar in the back, but he's also playing a really mean Ari. Like a really mean Ari. Like he's like 30 KDA on the champion right now. Like his ability to just find picks. Like obviously he's not actually very high in the damage percentage in terms of like his DPM is not that high as in a mid laner because he's often been left pretty weak side, honestly. Yeah, he's often been left very weak side. It's like, okay, I've got 3 people in my lane. I just need to not die. Like, completely get it. Like, but his ability to be a facilitator and to make things happen by starting charms, cages, Everfrost, all that kind of thing, following up on what Hachimecha is doing, where they're often quite selfless players anyway. And when you're actually feeding resources into Sol, can you blame them? And Ino, to an extent as well, has kind of been their secondary carry to an extent. I think if Recap was going to get an edge over Yaharong, it'd be like, okay, get this guy Ari, something like that, which can
in
leave
a
lane
counter pick spot.
Leave lane, spirit rush bot, dive, make things happen for Sol. Like that would be my angle, I think, if I wanted to get.
But if Yaharong gets a rise, I just don't think it works out that way. And
no.
Anything with half decent wave clear, like it has to be a counter pick spot. But I'm gonna move us on.
Okay, fine.
We are doing
Materialize. It helps. That's all I'll say. We'll move on.
I actually love that point because what we've got to do is I'm going to give final predictions. Obviously, I didn't say mine, but DFM are winning this one. I think it's actually going to be pretty decisive for me. Initialise, do you think it's going to be clean, dirty, 30 minutes, or going to be a bit down and
I think it will be close until DFM smash it an objective fight, probably.
Okay.
With a side of Ebby getting increasingly large advantages in topside.
But I know is the weak side was a very good weak side player on Axis, so we'll see. Hina, I'm coming to you for that final prediction.
I wanna see some smelly cheese. That's what I want from RJ. So some cheese.
Right.
I want to go DFM. Listening to my brain, I want to go DFM, but my heart, I just want to see once again some of the top quality, top tier cheese from them, and just if they beat DFM once again, playoffs is going to be super interesting.
Also, the history books.
If
DFM go like wicked hard, they just 6-0 Juggernaut and finals. The fact that they lost twice to Rascal Jester is going to confuse the history books for ages. And I will absolutely love it.
But there's just a little bit of the kryptonite going on here. I know
it is. Oh, yeah. Even if they 3'd them in the Juggernaut, it's like, yeah, but during the regular season, they couldn't beat them. They could have had the streak if it wasn't them. It's like, yes, of course, yes. Let's really ramp up Rascal Jester. We're going to move on, though, because we mentioned a little bit about them. But Sengoku Gaming, bit of a fall off now. And then we're going to have to take it over to specifically Burning Core and Crest Gaming Act because, a bit of a fall from grace for all these teams. Sengoku were able to beat the bottom teams, but not all their matches felt clean. Honey and Jet are still incredible, but the rest of the parts of Sengoku are worrying me. And then that is just amplified more so with Burning Core and CGA, because while everybody's trading blows, I don't feel like these teams are playing as good as they were playing, or they weren't perceived, at least when you look at them just from an eye perspective, an eye test point of view. They felt like they were better. Now it feels like other teams have improved and they're not really leveling up again. And it's a bit disappointing for me.
Yeah. Where do we start with this one? Do we want to start on which
Honestly,
team
we've already kind of covered Sengoku a little bit, so I kind of want to put it more CGA Burning Core at the moment.
Okay. So,
do you want to just start with Axis Hawks because they're the teams beating?
No. Let's do Burning Core because I'm kind of here anyway and thinking about it. So, I think some of the worries we had pre-split turned up a little, which is Fujimoto is still quite new, and Yuhi is sometimes I think Yuhi's actually had a relatively okay split, generally speaking. You know, like
Yep,
he's not been as
I
much
would
of a
agree.
liability, but he's still not putting up the best numbers. And he is still exploitable in certain games. I look back to that Hawks game, and Marble and Ryanair took that game to pieces.
Yep.
And you know, there's other things happening that actually also Ray Farkey and Dice didn't win their coin flips as well as they would have liked, because they are, you know, normally the ones to do the brunt of the heavy lifting and give Yuhi a bit of an easier time of it. But that didn't happen so much. And you know, I still think Burning Core are a good team. I just don't think they're as explosively good as they were in the early split, because other teams have turned up a bit. And B, they've also had a bit of a schedule where like they've gone against some better teams who've turned online. Like they had a good win against CGA, right? On the on the last day of play, like it was a great win against CGA.
Yes, it was.
But even sort of things like the game against Sengoku were a really good team, but they kind of, again, Yuhi kind of got a little bit rolled. And you can sort of see, okay, right, we are starting to see some of the weaknesses here.
Yeah, there are cracks.
There are, and like, don't get me wrong, this is still a good team. I just think some of the are they like top 2 is falling away from contention now, really.
I have the current opinion that I think Burning Core as a team had a lower floor. Like they were
I can see
better than
That's
average teams at the very beginning. And that kind of made sense. And at the same time, I could kind of see, because other team cohesion and other bot lanes hadn't fully synced themselves, that just Fujimoto, who was a very competent support in Academy, and Yuki, who's got a lot of experience playing, they didn't look exploited at the first round robin and a half, and the rest of the team were playing pretty well, so that's where the curveballs were coming in. We're starting to see the effects now, and this is one of the teams I'm very interested to watch for this last round robin, because I feel like I'll get a really good idea with this extra few games where they should have properly ended up, which we wouldn't have got in previous seasons, which I'm very grateful for the new format change.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Before I'm sure Hina steps in, I'll just I think what remains to be seen is, yes, we've seen that there are cracks to exploit. My question is, how deep are those cracks, right? How big are they? How much can you wedge them open? And which teams can do it? Because obviously we've seen, look, if you can make Dyson flawless, coin flip and lose, and then not be a pressure point, and then you kind of get to like squeeze Yuhi and Fujimoto consistently, you can break this team. It's doable. Flawless still has some dead brain moments when you lose the hands check, because that top side loves to hands check. How many teams can do that? How many teams can do that consistently is my question.
I mean, the fact that Hawks did it, and the fact that I feel like
but Hawks are finally turning online a bit, in fairness, which is good for them. But yeah,
and I also feel like Axis are coming online, so that's why I'm very much worried that Burning Core could not pick up another game. There's not so many free
wins.
Agreed. Hina, I want to get your perspective. Burning Core, what's your thoughts on them? Obviously, Yuhi.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure whose fault it is. It could be like a coach thing. It could be like a team environment thing. I think Flawless and Dice are underperforming to my expectations. Like I was expecting, just looking at them, like in the LCK STL, they were like the Lee Sin and the Akali player just stomped everyone, just ran over the hard carry players. And I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing that they're trying out different styles. Literally, just after the previous match, Flawless did an interview where he said that he was also borrowing that build from SOFM. Actually, he was saying that SOFM was his inspiration for that zombie board and that build.
Okay.
So definitely he was trying out different styles, which is all fine, but I kind of miss like the carry type of junglers from him. I'm not even sure. I think we've seen like one listing from. No, we definitely didn't. Even if it's still a listing from him, he lost because.
Let me have a look. You guys keep chatting. And I will investigate.
And I completely agree with you, Hina. I feel like a perfect representation of that match was Dice versus Jet in the Sengoku versus Burning Core match. And Dice just didn't really feel like he ever really had it together in that matchup, which was surprising because I honestly expected a lot more from Jet. Like really?
like,
And well,
okay,
dice.
Yeah, so I've got this here. He's only played one Lee Sin game and he's lost on it. Yeah. And part of that is because Lee Sin's not actually all that meta, in fairness. I think Lee Sin's fallen off a bit, but
I forgot that there is a. I'm actually not necessarily. I think it was once who said, but don't quote me on this. There was
Once
one
had a
jungler who was
fantastic game on Lee Sin.
Yeah, okay, so it was him. He was like he was asked because other than once, no one won a game on Lee Sin in the LJL right now. Once is the only jungler in the LJL who has won a game on Lee Sin at the moment. And when he was asked why is that, he was saying that it's because DFM has not played Lee Sin yet. So that's an answer.
Yes, I knew it. It's like I watched the interview.
But then I'm just thinking that Flawless was in his time in the LCKCL.
Okay.
Was doubted one of the best Lee Sin players in the world.
Yep.
Why he is not getting Lee Sin?
Okay. So I agree. I would agree. He really is. What that suggests to me as well, though, is that Burning Core as a team can't play Lee Sin, which is more what I'd be worried about, because Lee Sin is very much, he's two things, right? He is very aggressive, early creative playmaking. You can come into gank from weird angles. You've got so much mobility. You hit level 6, you've got a lot of kill combos. And then later on into the game, you are effectively looking to find creative angles to get into the backline. But you are not, it's not as straightforward as playing things like Hecarim, like Xin Zhao. You want a frontliner, you want really a primary engage. And when you are trying to play things like Yasuo and Camille or Darius, if you have another coin flip that isn't really engaged, and you've also got Fujimoto who is good but new, you need to pick the engage somewhere else. And I just don't think, with what champion pools and playstyles Burning Core want to go for, Lee Sin fits in especially well with them right now. Lee Sin is actually
Why did they grab him as a player then?
Because I still think Flawless is phenomenal. I think he's been really good this split.
Like, yeah, but it's coming back to the point of like maybe it's a team problem, it's a coach problem, but there is a problem because if you're picking up this player, as you wanted to say also, like if you pick this up, this player who's a carry jungler who's insanely good in certain picks, insanely good in certain styles, and obviously he can play defensive styles as well, like he can, but then it's like I don't know, the team's not together.
A lot of carries. He's been playing Diana, Hecarim, Karthus. Like I think those count as carries.
Carry?
Yeah, he is. He's very, very strong.
Assuming you go Divine Sunderer.
And even if you don't, I think Hecarim counts as it. Like he is like.
Ken Tank's a bit
if you go talk to Blabber, if you talk to a lot of the people around the ERLs, they all say Hecarim is the S tier jungler right now. He's just really.
Oh yeah, no, I think he's absolutely.
And I think he kind of semi counts as a carry because the moment you hit level 6, basically. Once you hit 2 items, you're like, the strongest champion on the goddamn Rift. Like, you are so good. After that, you turn into hard engage. You don't necessarily get to be a carry per se, but you always threaten the AD carry, and that's all you really need to care about right now in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, you probably have a Vex or something to worry about, but Hecarim, it just sets up so many combos. There's so many team fights available right now that make him really, really strong. Like, yeah, I just think like there's nobody who brings as much to the table as Hecarim does right now. And I think it is quite telling that he's going to things like Karthus and Diana, which are very much say, I trust that I don't actually have to do all that much early to be useful. I can just wait till I get to 2 items and then blow open everyone else, and I can be the carry now. And obviously there's other stuff in there, like there's a weird Janna game, which obviously didn't really work out. I don't know why that one came from, but actually, it's things like the Volibear, the Lee Sin, and the Xin Zhao that haven't been quite as effective for this team, which is quite a lot because even if he's being proactive on these picks, it's not working in the long term. Because, they need him to be a little bit more of a scaling, okay, give me resources, I can make this work.
I mean, my current perspective is that it used to be top side for Burning Core was fine, and they could normally play through it. And then bot side was their weak side, and they just had to try and make sure it got through, and Yuhi and Fujimoto were very good at doing that. Sometimes now, Yuhi and Fujimoto sadly lose, or they get ganked a lot, which has been happening a lot, because a lot of teams have targeted them. And also now top side is getting targeted, and they're not always winning, and they're losing some of the hand checks sometimes. And I just feel like if what Hina's set up, which is, they're trying a lot of stuff out, and that is just not working at the moment, and they're going to hopefully have another round robin, they could actually go to the moon. They could be a legit team if they figure out these problems. The fact is, though, they might go the opposite way. They might keep trying stuff out and nothing actually is gonna work out for them. So I think I'm very interested to see the trajectory that we see, because at the moment it feels like it's a bit up and down.
Yeah, I think they've got really high highs as a team. They've definitely got the potential, but I think they've also got some. I think that the floor is quite low, as you said earlier, because obviously Yuhi Fujimoto, we know Yuhi can crumble under pressure. Fujimoto's still new. Dice Flawless, Crayfaki take the hands checks. They take the Darius, the LeBlancs, the picks that, you're right to be taking the skill checks on those champions, because that's what you need to do with them. But you lose them and it looks bad. Like, that's just the way of it. And I'd rather they did that. I think it makes them a scary team, but it does give you, if it goes wrong real fast. Like, there's a serious tailspin you hit into on those champions. So we'll see. I think they're still a good team. I think it's just other teams have turned up and are now able to hands check them a bit better. And I think we are seeing some limitations in terms of what compositions they can work with right now for various reasons. Like, obviously, I was speculating a little bit about Lee Sin there. But I think I've got some. I hope I made some reasonable deductions there, at least.
I agree. Hina, any last points on Burning Core for you? Any ideas?
Kind of the same.
Dice and Flawless not playing up to your expectations.
Yeah, and I think and it's not necessarily their fault once again, because especially for a jungler,
just not.
Especially for the jungler, it's like super dependent on the team, like what the team needs. He can't just like be I'm the carry, because obviously there are lanes. So yeah, it's not necessarily their fault. It's just like the team is not working, and I just hope they're gonna find that style that works for them, even if you just like one style. And you don't have to be a DFM who can play 10 styles perfectly. Just find your thing and just go with it.
We'll have to see if they go with it. I'm very interested to see the results and then make my opinion on Burning Core at that point, because they're just a bit hot and cold at the moment. A team though that feel cold, and that's saying something, because it feels like we've got two teams who are cold at the moment. How's Crest Gaming act? What is going on? Middlecott is molding. Like, I bless the poor guy. Like,
he's trying.
He is, and he's got his flags. He's trying to do the T1 hype train stuff, but with CGA, and it's kind of on fire sometimes. It's not great to see. Currently tied at the moment with Burning Core in the standings. They did pick up a win at the very end, but I mean, no, they picked up another loss at the very end. They did have one win, and I believe that was over V3 at the very beginning. So we'll come to V3 at the very end. But Crest Gaming Act, Hina, kick me off with your thoughts on them.
They're in the same, like they have the same score as the Burning Core right now, but it doesn't look like the same like strength level. Especially this week was super disappointing. Not even just the fact that they lost to Axis, because Axis was, I think, playing pretty well. It's just that I don't know. There are so many things that like not necessarily going right with them. Obviously, I really like Nemo, but he is not having like the best with either. Like, especially after last split, man. If you pick Trash for Nemo day one, it's not happening right now. It's even on Trash, even on Nautilus, like he is not the same. Well, once again, it's like not necessarily how much, like just his fault. Hybrid was playing, I think, well. I don't think hybrid was like super bad, but I feel like still the team is just not really having it. There's not really a cohesion between the members, and I think I can't even recall, like Costin was having like maybe one good match, but he was also like not necessarily that great from the starter split either. So yeah, and also Kaito is like all right, but the mid pool of LJL has really went up.
It's quite good right now. Yeah.
Yes.
So okay, I want to just double check a couple of things. So I was making sure I got my numbers right here. So they went 3-1 the week before. They had a really good week, and they dropped a game to Rascal Jesters of all people. Like that's very reasonable. It was a good game as well, actually. A Hybrid and Soul trying pretty hard, both at pretty dangerous positions. It was a good game, right? But aside from that, actually, they beat Burning Core. It was a good game. They got some, like Hybrid popped the hell off on Aphelios. They beat Sengoku Gaming. Hybrid went on the was on the Zaya. Nap got that. The Akali, it was a bit rough from Cassin and Nemo to begin with, but they got rolling, like all of this kind of deal. And then you saw Cassin on the suicide Rek'Sai murdering people for his life, but it was the right call because it meant everyone else was focusing. Like there was good stuff. Honestly, my take. They had a rough game against Axis, who finally turned up and honestly played the engages really well. I actually really loved Axis's comp, so I think there's a bit of a draft diff going on there. Just priority in pretty much every lane. Hecarim, Vex with a Kennen to flank. Like that's hard. I don't care whether you've got Tahm Kench, you don't survive. Hybrid tried his absolute best, but you don't survive. And then you had DFM and Burning Core. So the best team in the league and your direct rivals, who, as we've said, are actually still really scary, just inconsistent, and they turned up that game. Personally, I'm not going to write them off after a bad week. I think the Axis one they're going to slap themselves for. I just think there's a way this is just a bit of a bad week against some really good teams.
I have a completely different take to you, which I think is very interesting.
I mean, I'll also say I think Cassin and Nemo just didn't look good this week. But this is one of those ones where your team suddenly turn up and have a bad week. I think there's going to be some scrim results to look over this. I don't think I'm going to throw CJ under the bus quite yet.
So I'm willing to throw 4 out of the 5 under a bus. So I'm of the opinion that how you set up that point, Sam, was fantastic for me because you were like, the previous week, Hybrid did this, Hybrid did that. Hybrid is the namesake of how this team is winning everything, pretty much. Like, if they get a lead, it's normally from Hybrid, and then they play through him. Sure. Hybrid had a bad week, and also other teams targeted the bot lane. They put bans in there. They were very much focused and understood that Kreskamiak need their AD carry, and there is agency on him. And I think we're kind of seeing the fact that AD carry is not the same role as mid lane when Arya did this. CJ seem to be an org where they love to play through one player, and they will lovingly do that for whatever reason. Maybe it's a Nap thing. I don't know. I mean, still very good in the weak side, by the way, Nap is. I would actually argue he's the second best player still in the team. And I don't even think that's much of an argument, really. But it's really on Hybrid. I think Hybrid's getting targeted. He's also not being allowed to get funneled as much gold because teams are preventing that. They're actually, junglers are taking different pathings in matches just so he doesn't get good backs. Just so things don't always quite work how we'd want it to work. And he misses an extra wave when sometimes it doesn't happen. And then the rest of CJ, I can't really match up. Like Kaito, we already mentioned. I completely agree with both of you. The mid lane pool is very stacked, so he's going to struggle. Also, the AD carry pool in the region is very stacked. So when Hybrid does get put behind, it's not like it's in a lot of matches he can just be better than the other one because his hands are just better. He will eventually scale up and just win when he hits a 3-item spike, for instance. That's not always going to be a guaranteed case. And Nap is not able to get a lead in a lot of things. He's going neutral, and sadly, that's not really a place. And Cassin is disappointing me. And we've already mentioned Nemo, and I completely agree with both of you on Nemo's.
Yeah. Nemo's having a rough split. Cassin is still Cassin, so there's coin flip involved. I think, again, we saw some flaws in this team, which is, if Hybrid doesn't have the easiest time popping off for whatever reason, be that compositional issues against AD carries, then you see the issues. But, I still think Nap in particular, I still think is still pretty good. I just think Kaito is in a very unenviable position right now in the mid lane where Dice, Jet, Yaharong, hell, even someone like Dasher can make his recap can make his life quite difficult.
Megumin.
But maybe again, even Megumin's had some moments, right? Like it's not an easy mid lane pool this year.
On broadcast, I've brought up the fact that Axis always Megumin always beats Kaito. He has never lost to Kaito in a competitive game.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah, that's true. You remember you bringing that up, actually. Yes.
That best of 5, man. That best of 5. He got the number then, and he's just been redialing it every single time. He's like, I got the cheat code, boys. I'm not letting him out. I've got the jail card. Kreskamiak, though. Where do we think they're going to be in the last round robin? Initialise. I'm not hopeful for them, personally.
I think for me, it's obviously the top 2 are pretty clear right now. I'm glad Rascal Jester's cleared up some of their issues and maybe people will work out how to exploit them again at some point. It's always a possibility. But for now, I think it's clear. Rascal Jester's the second best team. We all know who's first. Sengoku third. I think it's probably for me. I still prefer Burning Core's ceiling, so I think I'd put them fourth. Then it's CGA, and I think that means they're in fifth. And I think that's pretty reasonable right now, unless they can find a more consistent way to keep hybrid carrying, and I don't know how easy that's going to be.
I'm gonna have a boring take.
Go on.
I'm just gonna have a boring take. I think at the end of day 15, we just have the end. Like we just have the in the standings at the end of the spring split. I think that's gonna be it. How we're coming into playoffs. Not necessarily like the same order. Like maybe Sengoku and Burning Core is gonna switch, but I think the FM Rascal Jester is gonna be on the top. Then like in the lower bracket, or I think it's called lower bracket. But yeah, in the lower bracket is gonna be Sengoku, Burning Core, CJ, and Axis. I think Axis is gonna make it rather than Astig, in the Hawks. And yeah, Hawks and Vs are just, especially Vs3 are just.
I think there's a world where Hawks get in over Axis. They're only one game behind. Well, what's the head-to-head there, actually?
They're both getting better. They're both getting better for sure.
So actually, when are Axis and Hawks playing? There's a really big question. Let me just double check the schedule. Oh, that is tomorrow. Good God, that's the second game. That's going to be really critical for head-to-heads because they're 1-1 right now.
Axis
Hawks.
Yes, I was going to come on to that because I've set us up perfectly.
Perfect. There you go. Take us there because that's big. That's really big.
Yes. I mean, last time we saw this matchup, the Hawks actually had Axis's number. And I mean, since then, we've actually seen Axis have a resurgence. So I think this is going to be a very
Draven game?
No,
that was against oh bollocks! I can't remember now. I was want to say Ebby's. I know it wasn't Ebby, because that was where he played.
That was like Burning.
That was the Darius where he played. It was an experience.
But it wasn't a canon game, right? It wasn't a canon game.
If it wasn't, no. I think
because
I was playing some form of carry.
I think Tots is just canon. Just keep playing canon, please.
But no,
it was against Sengoku. It was Paz.
Oh.
Yeah.
He went
the Scion.
Yes.
Yes, I remember rightly. Yeah.
He played Scion. I was like, it's Paz. No.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we don't have Apamen or Cog. So
1-9-1 on Draven top. It was started okay, and then it all fell apart in the mid game. Anyway. Yeah.
But what's weird is like apparently it was unfortunately I don't know his OPGG, but it was Paz who said it on the interview that apparently Tots just exclusively played Akshan and Draven top in solo queue exclusively.
I love it.
Oh,
I love him so much.
And this is the result. He's been put back on Kennen duty.
I mean, first, he played Kennen super well. I think
he does.
If you want to play a ranged carry top that can actually impact team fights, and if you've got a mid laner that can play Vex and a jungler, so Hecarim Vex is an ungodly combo that should never ever see the rift. Like that combo should never be allowed. It causes unhappy things to happen to people. Because
if they opt in to the 5v5.
Look, I don't even think you necessarily need to opt to the 5v5 because Hecarim presses Ghost and Devastating Charge, and you can't run away because effectively we realized that myself and Alex have had a discussion. We realized that what the mid lane is effectively the ARAMs are in fact just the Death Star run. The Death Star run is an ARAM. And so basically, someone yells, "Here they come," and someone says, "Red 5 standing by," and you go running down the mid lane, and you try and avoid all the turrets, and you're there to throw that proton torpedo and blow up the enemy team, right? And Hecarim is your X-Wing, and he goes in, and he presses R and E, and you run past all those towers that can't hit you and don't do any damage because you've got Chem Tank and a second item, and you're just too tanky. And everyone is feared in place because you get on top of everyone. And while they're all feared for 2 seconds, because Onslaught of Shadows is a disgusting ability, and there's no way to avoid it, really, because you go unstoppable, you can follow up with Vex, who will have a passive charge and fear you for another 2 seconds afterwards, because she goes RW when she gets in, and her personal space is now your space. And you will have to run away for another 2 seconds. So 4 seconds of running away forever and ever means your AD carry doesn't survive. And you have Kennen to follow that afterwards for another 3 seconds of CC with a Slicing Maelstrom. And what you have is this ungodly combo of long range engage and CC where I don't care whether you have a cleanse, you're not staying alive. And that is problematic for teams that then when you see someone like Toltu getting Kelder Kennen to follow all that up, it's just a nasty combo.
I love what you're saying, Sam. I love it. I do.
Thank you.
But there is
Rant over.
something that happens before people get to pick their champions. And that's the part I'm worried about for Axis specifically, because I completely agree with both of you. But we've already stated that Hecarim is definitely an S-tier jungler in the eyes of a lot of pros. So it's not unreasonable to just ban that for just meta reasons alone. And it also fits in a lot of comps. You mentioned the Vex. It's also great with Oriana's because it's a ball carrier. And there's some other champions. Ari likes playing with Hecarim, especially if they get Cloud Rift. Ari can catch up and keep up with their Hecarim. So you ban the Hecarim. So you don't get that one. And you can also just look at Tol2 and be like, you've only looked great. Great. I'm not saying he doesn't look good on other champion. Great on Kennen. We'll ban that one. And then don't a lot of these teams just kind of look at Axis and go, what's next for you to come out with? And then we get to see what that next evolution is. That's what I'm interested to see. Because I hope Axis have more in the tank. I want there to be more. I'm just a little worried that there isn't much more.
Yeah, I feel exactly, yeah. Sanctuary's an easier carry to play through.
Hey, Hina, go for it.
Go on, Hina.
Here's the curveball.
Okay.
Tomorrow, Yoshi.
Poppy! Bring the
That would
Poppy
be interesting. That would be interesting. Unfortunately, I don't think Yoshi isn't a player anymore this split because even though like tank tops definitely have some agents, like not necessarily just the Poppy, but like maybe a Sion. I'm actually not sure how much of a Sion player he is, but like there's definitely top laners he could play. But I think just like if you're coming into this game and like obviously you can't change players during the draft, so if you have to choose a player for the draft, it's probably gonna be Toltu and the carry.
Yeah, there's more. But like my problem is, you know what style of champion you're getting from Yellow Yoshi, especially now roaming smites have gone.
I mean, the same for Toltu. Just
yeah,
there are more carry top laners.
Yeah, but there's still much more room to counterpick there. It's like, aha, I have counterpicked you with Sion. Great, I have Tryndamere. You cannot stop me at your tower. Like, I have Hullbreaker. Please try and stop me. Like the level of counterpick is very different. And that's what I think is more of a thing, right? Because you kind of know it's going to be a tank or at best a bruiser from Yellow Yoshi, and that means, unfortunately, for a lot of the top laners right now, it's like, yeah, we can all play Camille, Darius, Fiora, Gwen, Tryndamere, Graves. We just love for you to pick these champions so we can like free farm grasp procs into you on Gangplank or something. Like, so it puts you in such a whole draft at the minute. I don't think you can afford it.
So then, if we're saying that we're not quite sure what Axis have to offer unless they do change the top laners and maybe find something, but I mean, Tol2 is probably just
that's great for best of 5. It's great for best of 5. It's not for a best of 1.
Do we think, because I want to bring it onto the Hawks, that they might be able to just come along if they do pick up the win against Axis? Obviously, then Axis have to get 2 wins, or they have to look to kick out maybe a very wounded Crest Gaming act, I feel. I don't think Burning Core will bleed that badly.
Okay.
Is that a possibility? If both Axis and Hawks beat them and the only win that CGA get is over V3, if Axis and Hawks pick up some wins, especially against maybe Sengoku or Burning Core, there's an opportunity there.
Like, I think
that would be crazy.
I think if Kinatsu continues to quietly do as well in lane as he's been doing.
I had a highlight video.
Like, I was looking through some stats here, and obviously stats lie a bit, but this guy's like, you know, matching Ebby in terms of laning stats.
Yeah.
Kind of like the guy's still like he's doing like he's playing lane and stuff. Well, it's just like the mid games are all falling apart, and he's been ganked a bit, right?
I get Alfari vibes from him.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that guy.
A young early Alfari in his career.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Master Day sort of thing.
Yeah. I get you. And like I don't disagree. I think
a lot to learn.
If Hawks continue on the trajectory they're on, which is Blank actually getting things done, and Dasher and Kinatsu continuing to play well in lane, and then you know, scrappy or not winning some mid-game fights, great news. And also, if Marble continues to take the mechanics and transition it into high-level competitive coordination, that's the difference right now, because you can still you could see the solo queue elements in him slowly being ground down, but it's been a bit of a trial by fire. And you look at the AD carry pool, and holy God, I'm sorry, Marble. Like, there's been a learning curve. but I need to see Blank and Reiner continue to step up. I've still not been impressed with either of them. I do think the coordination of the team has been exploitable still. But yes, I still think Hawks can make it into playoffs. I think CJ and Axis would be the two teams that would be potential targets for them to knock out. And it's why this game against Axis tomorrow is going to be so important, because they're currently tied in the head-to-head, and they are the direct competitors. Hawks win, they tie with Axis. They have the head-to-head. Suddenly, Axis are out of playoffs for now. Like they're suddenly down out in the spot that Axis were.
And that's the thing, right? That is the killer moment for them. Go ahead, Hina.
I'm gonna go back, just like
Yep.
to my solid point.
future?
Whenever there is like, whenever there is like something, I'm just like interviews. I love them. I'm not sure if you know this.
She has a YouTube channel of all the LJL interviews that you should check out.
Marble interview. I think it was I'm not sure which day it was, but I'm putting the names in the title always. So Marble interview. It is really interesting for a lot of reasons. It's kind of like gave a little insight of like how the communication goes inside the Hawks, and that was like definitely like put a light on like what problems they have. For example, Marble was not talking in game until like a few weeks ago. Right, from what he says in interviews, it's like it's kind of like publicly said he wasn't talking in like
Seriously?
in general. I mean, like it's obviously like probably he was saying things, but he was extremely shy, and he said that like basically the macro decisions are handled by the Blank and Reina.
Okay.
They are the ones like doing the macro stuff, but in team fights he wasn't talking almost at all.
That's really important. You
or
wonder why he's
at
getting
least, like,
caught out. It's not calling things like that. That's
he was
like
saying.
I also
massive.
I also wonder, from what you've just said, I wonder and worry if that's why the Hawks have also looked so bad, because Blank and Ina are having to do overload. Like they're doing more than they normally would when they would play, because other players like Marble specifically, obviously for Ina, they're still learning and they haven't got everything yet. So Reiner's trying to cover for some of that at the moment, and yeah, you've seen it in other teams before. That's why they eventually get better, but the start is horrible.
Like, was there anything more to the Marble was saying? So I'm assuming he's improved on that front from that, Hina, before I have a chat about shot calling.
I highly suggest everyone to watch the interview, because I think it's kind of funny. There are definitely funny parts of it. He was basically saying that like he communicates a little bit now during team fights, but there was also some moments when they were like, there is like this exact moment when he said that I think it was maybe like I think Dasher was solo kill, but there was like someone doing a mistake, and like it's like Marble was taking the interview that like yeah, and I was like I'm gonna carry so don't worry. And then the interviewer asked him that like did you say it to them? And Marble is like nope, it was just in my head. So he's not really the type of guy who was actually talking a lot. He's not really the type of guy who just sharing his opinions, and he's definitely trying to change that. He was saying publicly that he's working on this. He is more talkative now, but I'm not necessarily sure like to which level it's gonna get.
What this tells me is just watch Hawks play games, and that's it. Look forward to Hawks in the summer when they've had a bit more time to really figure out what they're doing.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'll add this in. So to clarify, it's not that big a deal that you're not the shot caller, you're not being like the most vocal player. But as an AD carry in team fights, you have to be calling targets and when you're peeling and summoners and the rest of it, because it's really important so the rest of your team know what to do to keep you alive, especially if you're a main carry like this. You need to say, I'm going on this character. They're going to get me. Someone help me out. Like that kind of communication and feeding information to your shot callers is a part of shot calling. Even if you're not making the calls, giving them information so they can make correct decisions very much is. You look at any one of T1's calls. So there's a great example. T1's calls. Carrier and owner of the main shot callers with a side of Faker, basically. Zeus, Gumayusi, not really the shot callers, but my God, will they give up very valuable information saying like, okay, no, the jungler's cool, I'm gonna go for the solo kill. Zeus at the top side. Like, I'm gonna go for the dive. Cool, right, we'll cover you. That's fine. Or wait, can we do this like play in the base? Yeah, we can. We've got these summons. I'll hold them off over here. Like, it's those kind of moments where, like, even if you're not the leader, giving the correct information and not being messy and like, there is a difference between messy comms and no comms at all, right? And like, you've got to give the information. Like, you don't want to like overload with useless info, and that's a bad thing in its own right. But not saying anything to your primary shot callers is your main carry piece. You need to be doing more than that. I know it's a difficult. I know there's some like,
well,
culture
have to
things and
see, mate.
experience things around there. It's difficult, exactly.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. Yeah, but I still align with
Just
you.
a quick point,
Reiner and Blank have disappointed me. Yeah, go for it, Hina.
Yeah, just a quick one, going actually back to LS. He was the one who's like super preaching about you don't necessarily need that much of a shot calling. I think he was even embracing the so-called like I think like it's called I'm not sure what's the exact term for this, but like screams where you don't talk, like just like screams where you don't talk with your teammates. He was actually preaching about this, and there is like some thought into that. Like you want to see the game the same way as your teammates. You don't like, and it's just like also like if you share like a lot of information, there are informations that you want to share and that you don't want to share, and it's like in like a perfect world you don't need communication because you're seeing the game the same way, you see the lane stays the same way, you exact like you all of
He
you want to do the
subscribes
exact
to
same
like
thing.
a hive mind approach sort of idea of playing League of Legends.
Yeah, but the problem is the Hawks are not seeing the game the same way at all. And when you don't see your when you like don't have the same idea in your mind, you need communication.
Like,
Completely agree.
Like, where I had that conversation when poor old Dasher was getting wraparound ganked by DFM at like 5 minutes. He's like, I'm doing fine. I come back to later. Like, my God, why are there 4 people here? I'm at my tier 2 and my tier 1 slab. Where's the rest of my team? Just casually chilling, not doing anything. It's like, I have a Tryndamere and a Hecarim diving me with like, I don't know, LeBlanc on my face. Like, that kind of communication of what the hell is going on the map, and like just the synergy just isn't there right now. It's getting better, but it's still not there. It's messy.
It's not. I think I'm looking forward to Hawks in summer. It's really good to have that insight though, because Marble having poor communication, it's kind of the thing of like, well, it's not just a Marble, well, it's not just a Blank and Reiner thing, it's also a Marble thing, which also then bleeds into the fact that Dasher and Kinatsu need to also maybe help that Marble in that scenario, especially Kinatsu as a rookie can probably relate with a lot of what he's feeling, but obviously different similar expectations as well, as Kinatsu had a fantastic performance and high hopes on Marble as well when they came into this split. So we'll have to see how they perform. You two, I'm gonna take us over to question time, and I know. Why now? There's still a team to talk about. No. It's related to question time, so we're going to do it all together.
I already see it.
Cause of PBE, obviously one of our fantastic writers in our Discord, has asked us the question: do you have any plans to celebrate V3's first win this week?
Orange nails.
Orange, I like that. What about you, Sam? I'm trying to think. Orange.
I hadn't, but I now need to think of something.
I'm gonna have a bag of cheesy
vodka.
Doritos. That's what I'm gonna do.
I will make a congratulatory Twitter post.
Wow.
I know. Like, no. Let me think.
You'll actually make a tweet. Wow, that's.
I'll tweet out.
Right.
Like, look. What I will. In fact, no. We'll step this up. What we'll do is we'll do a congratulatory Twitter video. They can go on the main LJL account, and I will maybe I'll play a little like really bad song for them or something. You can like, I'll get me and Alex will do something really stupid if they win. We've got to win.
If they win this week has to be this week as well.
This week specifically.
Who are they playing with?
Can't be next week. Has to be this week. Also, real question is, the real question is, what pieces should V3 keep going into summer season, and which roles should they maybe turn to imports for? I'm also going to talk about a little bit, obviously, about V3 not wins. They're currently 0-15 at the moment for any of our audio listeners out there. V3 just can't get anything to go. Hino, take it away.
I'm not sure how hard this take is, but don't change anything. Keep the roster. Keep the same roster. We don't think like obviously like, it was rumored that MSI is gonna be in Korea.
Yep.
current situation in Korea concerning COVID is not the best, so I'm not necessarily sure
It's
if
pretty
it's
tough right
actually
now.
gonna
Yeah.
go through. Riot is
Yeah.
just gonna do the
Gosh.
Iceland card once again. I'm not sure, but like if it's in Korea,
Trap card.
there's gonna be a lot of teams. Obviously, as VC, you're not gonna scream against the Fanatics or Cheetos or whoever goes there or Team Liquids, obviously. But you can like scream against, for example, like someone from Brazil, someone from Latin America. I think there's gonna be screen partners, maybe not even, but there's definitely gonna be screen partners because if it's in Korea, there's gonna be teams there who's looking for screaming. You can get a lot of experience during this off season is what I'm getting at. So I don't think you should change a single player. I think you should look for getting a lot of experience through scrims this off season.
I don't think they'll get scrims. Like, sadly, I just think their record is
Yeah.
just going to kind of put them in a
When I
spot where
said
no
it, like,
team will want to touch
yeah.
them because they just
I
won't
think
get
if
anything
they
out of
could,
it.
kind of realized.
yeah, I think if they want to get scrims, they need to win games. That's the vicious cycle. But for me, I think if you were gonna change the team, I would. There's a couple calls. I think Washington does
top.
actually. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's not a question. I think Washington has actually been really quite good. Though.
Agreed.
So, like, relatively, so like, I mean, I agree. Cog's a really good person on the free market who I think would be a really good option. I think you kind of want to bring in a pairing realistically. Either you bring in a bot lane because I think Dresscode and Hettle have been okay, but I don't think they like look at the rest of the league's bot lanes and they're probably the worst, arguably.
I think that's actually the best angle. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you sadly have to just do the double bot
or-
lane import.
or you go for a mid jungle and you kind of just play strong side top with Washington and you leave Dresscode and Heddle to be weak side and give them some more experience if you wanted to do it. That would be my call. But I think I see Hina's angle. Look, keep this team the same, see what they can do. Let's have a think after the end of the year because I think that might give you a bit of angle about who's worth keeping at that point. It's just tough because this team is having a difficult time of it right now.
Knowing this, they're not gonna import. I would be surprised if they import.
There's no Flash Wolf players to steal. Former Flash Wolf junglers, so they're kind of in a new world here. They're not quite used to this. Yeah, I get what your vibe with that. They really like grabbing random players when they do import them. Obviously, normally one strong player and then a rookie or something. I'm feeling back to obviously Boogie and Archer. Yeah, V3 just kind of in a weird spot, and I feel like it's really sad to see this fall from grace. Obviously, the Org was one of the teams that always kept pushing, always pushing for top 3, top 4 in a lot of spots. Obviously, went to Worlds 1 year. 2 years later, they're sitting 0-15 and Initialise. If you told me that when they were having that fantastic year, I would have called you a liar or something very bad has happened. Maybe Ace retiring did this. I can't believe it, Sam.
I think a lot of the teams ended up being. Look, it's Ace's fault. And I think it also hurts that every other team pulled in these imports. They've all been good. Like, all of them. There's barely been any of them that gone like, yeah, that's been bad. Like, Blank had a bit of a mess start of the split. There you go. Everyone else, like, Swamp and Sanctuary for Access. Honestly, 2 of the better players on that damn team. Flawless and Dice, we've been over. Hybrid, amazing. Steel, Yaharong and Harp, great. Like, this whole... Jet's been phenomenal. Like, what do you
Jet has the most MVPs currently from the official stream.
He's been really
That's
good.
how cracked he is.
He's been really good.
It's
also
I
think it's been really unfortunate.
team.
V3 have come up and the rest of the team's just gone, yeah, well, we've all upgraded as well. What are you going to do? Like, oh, well, this sucks.
Can I propose a question?
No.
What feels worse? V3 or TSM?
V3.
TSM. I think TSM have...
Oh, sorry. No.
Actually...
Okay.
Oh...
In what sense? Okay, in what sense?
That's
I think
interesting.
That's the question.
I think TSM still have better individual players, but I also think TSM as an organization right now is a dumpster fire because of all the investigations and stuff going on.
I also think...
I mean, it's not like V3 is all pure.
I also think...
No, I want to say I know, that's fair. I'm just aware. It's a bit more public with TSM
want to say...
right
yeah, V3 is not pure. I want to say... I think the LCS... In the LCS, the only team that TSM could beat would be Immortals. Whereas I
they
think
don't that bad, yeah.
I mean, the rest of the league, I actually think are good enough to just, in theory, stomp if past performances continue. Whereas I think V3 have a better chance versus a curveball CGA draft. Maybe Axis doing something weird with Toltu and Washi Day pops off. Maybe if Hawks just have a really bad game. Like, I think there are more teams that V3 could beat than what TSM have. So I would actually take V3 in this scenario over TSM. That's...
Yeah, relative to the leagues, yeah.
Good question, Hina. Wow. I had to really theory craft that one.
And I'm going to be honest. I don't think V3 is going to finish the split without wins. I think they're going to pick up one. I'm not sure if it's going to be Axis or CJ or the Hawks. I think it's going to be one of those three. I think they're going to pick up a win.
They're going to get a win, Sam? Do you think they're going to end the split with a win? I'm going to go no.
Look, I think they'll get a win because I think it's incredibly hard not to get at least one win. I think it's very hard to go completely winless.
And also, they had been doing better.
And I think they had, and it's not like exactly. I think they have probably gotten better.
They've absolutely gotten better. And I mean, is it going to be good enough to get that win? We got 2 yeses, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 2 no's. Do you want to get us to answer your question in the future? And then maybe we'll do tangents where we start asking our own questions to each other. You can do that if you do the hashtag LJL podcast. So you can ask all your questions there. Or you can just join our server. We have fantastic welcome parades. It's really, truly lauded for what we do every single new member. And you can ask your questions in there, ladies and gentlemen. But with that said, Hina, Initialise, that's the podcast. I'm going to come to you, Hina. How are you going to be doing? What are you going to be doing over these next few weeks? Because we probably want to have you on till probably during playoffs, probably again, where we do our big extravaganza podcast of a lot of guests rotating around. What are your thoughts on the LJL, and what have you got planned for the future over these next few weeks? Anything to plug?
I'm definitely going to translate a lot of stuff. Now there's going to be 4 match days a week. So expect a lot of translations. I'm posting all of them on both on my Twitter, which as you can see here, and also on the Discord server. So make sure to join. There's gonna be a lot of insights to the teams, and these next 2 weeks I think is gonna be super interesting. We're gonna see the lost pieces. Like, are we gonna see a big slump? Are we gonna see a big rise? Everything is possible. Roscoe Jester just had a perfect second round. Everything is possible. There is still everything up in the air. Technically, not a single team is completely eliminated from playoffs yet. Even
not
V3
quite.
Technically, can make it.
It's very, very hard, but they need to start winning. Yeah, I think off play it would be.
It's technically possible.
Sam,
it's definitely gonna be
next week's episode podcast. You're not doing it now. You're not doing that. We're ending, mate. Sorry, mate. Hina, continue.
So yeah, definitely translations. Those are interesting. So far, all the players have been super fun. They're really funny lines. I love them. And yeah, playoffs is coming. I'm definitely have plans for playoffs. Hopefully, it's gonna be pretty fun. I'm looking to translate more, maybe even some after shows. That's something that has been on my mind. If there is interest for that, whenever I'm gonna have more time, not just doing literally every day, just okay, transition done. Yep, and yeah, make sure to follow me if you like LJL content or just League of Legends in general. I'm super waiting for MSI, but yeah, that's still a few months away.
Fantastic. Sam, I can't control what you say now, so by all means, continue your point you were going to make, or otherwise,
I didn't think I was going to make a point, actually. I don't think I was muttering to myself, possibly. So I may have baited you, actually. So apologies.
Bait and switch. Fair enough.
I have got NLC playoffs coming up, so that's all very exciting. We had a very crazy match yesterday where one of the favorites, even for an EU Masters semi something, got knocked out first round of playoffs. It was ridiculous. That was with the global solo kill leader by a long way, underperforming mid jungle, getting smashed. It was a great game for the side, but it was a bit of madness. So that playoff should be very, very exciting. I think we've got day 2 tomorrow. I think Alex will be on that. I think I'm back on Saturday. Great stuff to keep an eye on. I'll be casting some of it. I'll be on desks for some of it. come sport. It'll be really fun. It's prep for EU Massive, which is coming up. And aside from that, the LJL stuff as usual. I'll be helping up with some writing, some really cool articles in the work from some of our writers, which I'm helping edit. I think that's probably most of it. I'd say I'd start streaming soon, but I can't actually get my internet connection stable enough for that quite yet. So when things are a bit more soft on that front, I'll finally get a chance to do some streaming, which would be really exciting. But for now, that's most of it. Watch NLC, watch LJL, that's where I'll be. Watch my Twitter, because I put good shit up there. Watch our Medium page, because we do some cool articles. There you go.
Love it. Absolutely love it. What am I going to be getting up to? Well, it's going to be a lot of LJL. That's for sure. 4 game days. I think I'm doing something on every single day. So gonna be busy with LJL. So by all means, click follow to this stream, or if you're on the YouTube channel, hit subscribe. All the VODs are going to be coming up. Other than that, I think I'm just going to mostly be chilling, playing video games, and probably just shit posting on Twitter. So follow my Twitter at MaskedSwan. Other than that, maybe I'll do some form of like cosplay or something, or dress up or something. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe. Me and my partner, we're both kind of getting into the cosplay vibes again. We've been watching a bunch of anime recently. So maybe we'll see. I finished 2 seasons of Miss Kobayashi's Maid Dragon.
Yeah.
So we did 2 seasons in a week. So I'm kind of like, the weeb trash is feeling, but we'll hold off. Follow my Twitter, you'll find out what I'm doing. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week. Tomorrow we've got LJL Maxes literally almost every other day, as Hina mentioned at the very top of the show. But with that said, thank you so much for listening and/or watching, and we'll see you all very, very, very soon. Bye-bye.